I hurt her. I hurt you all. I hurt my wife. I hurt my boys. I hurt friends like Tom Davis. I hurt a lot of different folks. And all I can say is that I apologize.
18 minutes, a soft-spoken and often tearful Governor Mark Sanford turned the South Carolina State House into his confessional.
I've been unfaithful to my wife. I developed a relationship with what started out as a dear, dear friend from Argentina, in just a casual email back and forth, in advice on one's life there and advice here. But here, recently, over this last year, it developed into something much more than that.
The normally reserved governor bared his soul about the woman, but never mentioned her by name.
From a heart level, there was something real.
Identifying her only as an Argentinian with 2 children. His wife, Jenny Sanford, said she asked him to leave 2 weeks ago to, quote, maintain my dignity with the goal of ultimately strengthening our marriage. Today, she was not by his side.
First and only time you've been unfaithful.
Yes.
Sanford immediately stepped down from his high-profile post as chairman of the Republican Governors Association, but ignored questions about whether he'd step down as state governor. In a statement later, he said he'd devote the rest of his term to building back the trust the people in this state have placed in me. That may be tough. Today, he admitted he kept the public and his own staff in the dark. Sanford disappeared from the governor's mansion on Thursday. On Monday, his wife said she didn't know where he was, and his staff said he was hiking the remote Appalachian Trail. But this morning, a reporter from the state's largest newspaper surprised him at Atlanta Hartsfield Airport as he arrived from Buenos Aires.
I spent the last 5 days of my life crying in Argentina.
Critics from within his own party called Sanford's disappearance unacceptable.
You know, the people of South Carolina elected a governor to be 24/7. You know, we as elected officials can't just go off and not be bothered. Our people look to us 24/7.
It had been a contentious few months for the governor, who tried to refuse some federal stimulus money. Sanford lost the battle, but his profile as a fiscally conservative hero soared. He was even mentioned as a possible presidential candidate in 2012.
That rise now has to be considered over. He not only has his personal problems to deal with, but what we saw in his press conference was just the unraveling of a human being before the cameras.
Just a short while ago, the newspaper The State released emails it says are between the governor and his alleged mistress, identified only as Maria. In them, he writes about his attraction to her, saying, "You have the ability to give magnificent, gentle kisses. I feel a little vulnerable because this is ground I have certainly never covered before. Please sleep soundly knowing that despite the best efforts of my head, my heart cries out for you and an even deeper connection to your soul." With Maria responding, "You are my love. I can't redirect my feelings, and I am very happy with mine towards you." Katie.
All right, Kelly Cobiella, thank you. How embarrassing. Meanwhile, Jeff Greenfield is our senior political correspondent. Jeff, this is obviously bad timing for the governor, but it's also bad timing for the Republican Party.
For the second time in a week, you've had a prominent Republican forced to step down from a party leadership post because they had to confess adultery. Governor Sanford today, Senator John Ensign of Nevada just last week, who left his post as head of the Senate Republican Policy Committee. And the two stories kind of feed on each other. It's not 1 + 1 = 2, I think, Katie.
All right, and a lot of this is about 2012 and the next presidential election, who's going to be the nominee. But what is the short-term political fallout from this, Jeff?
I think for the first time, Republicans have seen some vulnerability with President Obama. Some poll numbers make the point. While his approval ratings remain high, some doubts are growing about whether he can control the budget deficit, whether he's spending too much. We've seen poll numbers that suggest independents are losing a little bit of their faith in him because they see him maybe as more of a liberal. But how do the Republicans make this point when this thing has become such a soap opera? It sounds like some of their folks are trying to replace John and Kate +8. And if you look at 2012, you have Ensign and Sanford, obviously, away from the picture now. You had Bobby Jindal of Louisiana, the governor, had very poor notices because of that response to State of the Union. Newt Gingrich has had to backtrack from some of his comments about Supreme Court nominee Sotomayor. And John Huntsman, the governor of Utah, nothing happened bad for him except that President Obama's made him ambassador to China, so he's out of the picture. They'll find somebody.
Can Governor Sanford survive this and stay governor?
I think at the end of his tour, we're going to find out whether people regard him as Bill Clinton or Eliot Spitzer, Katie.
All right. Jeff Greenfield, as always, Jeff, thank you so much.